Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to the Woman to Woman show on the New You Nation Network. We are excited to be back this Monday, and we are ready to dive into our topic tonight. But before we do that, we are going to introduce ourselves. So, for those of you who are new, this is the Woman to Woman show on the New You Nation Network. This network is dedicated and committed to sharing from our perspectives and our experiences as Gen X women for other Gen X women. But we invite everyone and we welcome everyone. But here we are tonight. Hey, Gina, welcome.
Hey, how you
Welcome.
doing, dear? How you doing, Regina?
And so we're going to start off as we normally start off by introducing ourselves. And since I'm talking, I guess I'll go first. I am Theodora Carter. I am a certified life coach, HR consultant. I am committed and dedicated to empowering women to live the life that they deserve to live. And I am dedicated to helping small businesses run their businesses while I run the HR side of the business to free them up to do what they need to do to run their operations. And tonight, I am grateful for another Monday night. I am grateful for another opportunity to come together with my sister's friends and share. And I'm going to toss it over to Regina.
Hi, good evening. Good evening. My name is Regina Booker, and I am the owner of Season and Fabulous, a women's empowerment, I guess, retreat group where women 50 plus, where it's never too late, whatever your dreams, hopes, desires are after you did not did your career, raise your children, empty nesters, whatever the case may be. Let's go after our desires and our passions. And that is what I do. And I am retired right now. So, and right now I'm doing all of my passions. As I was telling my sisters one time, I said, I'm doing this and that and that. I said, you know what? After that corporate world, these are my passions. So I just want to help other women get there. And I'm enjoying the things that I'm doing. And I am grateful for just being able to be here because absolutely I didn't know if I was going to make it because technology was acting up today. But guess what? God opened up the gates and I'm here.
That's it. Do it, Lord. All right, Gina is on you.
Hey, y'all. I am Regina. I am known as Chef Regina because I am passionate about yummy, delicious food, homemade and made well. I'm also um, the owner and I say co-creator of RHN Unlimited, which really deals with supporting families and youth and building their best strategies for their future, especially with the young ones, letting them know that they can create a vision and make it plain, but they have to be willing to do the work. What I'm grateful for today is that I made it. You know, sometimes you have those days where it's like, yay! And sometimes you have those days like, praise the Lord, yay! And it doesn't have to be anything heavy. Just sometimes it's like, I'm home. So I'm grateful to be here with my co-awesomeness ladies, and we are ready to support and hopefully engage you in some real spirited and honest conversation.
You're on mute.
I'm on mute. I am I'm excited, but I don't know how excited to talk about tonight's topic. So tonight on the Women to Women show, we will be talking about relationships. We will be talking about, how relationships evolve when you get to that midlife point. So talking about friendships, how friendships may change, marriage, divorce, right? Dating, in this era of our lives. So I'm excited, but like I said, I'm not too excited because you know that little dating topic is something. And
Mhm.
so, ladies, tonight we're going to talk about everything relationships, right? So, where do you want to start? Do we want to start with friendships, marriage? I think we should wait for marriage for Sheila to join us because hopefully Sheila will come in because we have what, two singles here, and then we'll have two married people. But
And we also have we're single, but we're both divorced.
yep,
So
true.
so
Yeah,
that way it will be if Sheila comes, it'll be two married,
yeah.
two
So
single, divorced.
yeah.
That-
So so we got a lot to talk about, right? So let's talk about, right? Let's talk about, I think, the easy one, right? Friendships, right? How have you seen like your friendships evolve or change as as you grow, and you, because we all, I think, are at different phases in our lives, right? Like we are working, some of us are working full time, but also running businesses, right?
Right.
Really stepping into our purpose and our passion. So of course, with that, you don't have as much free time as you used to, right?
Mm-hmm.
Also your friendships evolve because as much as you love some people, they're not growing and moving with you, right? So that means that maybe the dynamic changes. So how have you found um that to be for you as you navigate, right, what you've been doing? Like Gina, you work a full-time job, but you also have
Yeah.
like two businesses basically.
Yes, I have. So that always keeps me busy. Yeah, working full time, having businesses, working to get those where they need to be, married, and so my friendship situation started changing when I became a mom
Mm.
because my priorities shifted, right? And I was a late bloomer, so I didn't really go hang out until I was like older. In my late teens, where my friends were going out 13, 14, I'm like, where y'all going? I ain't trying to get in trouble. But so it was later in my early 20s that I really started having fun, going out and doing stuff. And once I became a mom, I was like, all right, uh, I can't do some of the stuff I used to do, and initially that didn't impact my friendships, but I think what changed is the 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 time. I
Mm.
couldn't spend as much time as I used to because I'm a mom now,
Yeah.
so I have responsibilities. And there were a lot of us becoming parents. We were becoming in relationships. We were getting married. So the dynamic shifted in the sense of where people priorities were. So I more or less stayed in tune with people that we were having similar priorities. We had we understood our roles as parents, as partners, and it didn't mean that we couldn't have fun, but there had to be a balance because at the end of the day, I'm not going to feel comfortable going out to a party or a club or something, and I know I got to take care of home, and my child needs something, and my spouse is like no, so that's not going to work. So I think as we mature and we learn how to navigate that because we still need to have a life. And the one thing I say as a mom, if I had the hindsight that I have now, I would have made more time to have fun.
Mm.
Because when you focus so much on raising your children, you kind of lose yourself. And,
Uh,
and you need to be able to have that time where you earmark it, even if it's once a month or every 2 weeks, where you do something with you and your spouse, or if you're not, just you yourself enjoy. Remember the person that you were. Remember that energy and stuff you brought to the table and the dreams and visions you had before you became a parent,
mm.
right? So I think when you get with like-minded people, people understand. You're not going to be on the phone all the time, and if you're working and you have a career, you're not really supposed to be at work talking to your
Mhm.
friends. You're supposed to be doing your job,
Yeah.
right? Um, so I think the friendships have evolved over time because I've grown, and some friends fall off, Some of them, you don't stay in contact as much, but they're still tight. I lost a friend of mine that we were tight from high school. She was my day one,
Mm,
and she recently passed away. It's going on 2 years now, and we know where our bones are buried. You understand what I'm
mhm.
saying? And you don't have too many friends like that.
Yeah.
And the ones that do, they're blessed. So if you have those kind of friends like Trey has a
Yeah.
core four, that's priceless. So those type of friends you don't kick to the curb. Those are the ones you hold on to. I've been fortunate as a mom. I've and going to church. You meet people, and I have some really beautiful friends. Everybody at church ain't your friend, but
Mhm.
you actually become friends with some people. So I've been really fortunate in that. So I
Mhm.
would say my relationships over time, my friendships have evolved based on what I'm up to,
Yeah.
and people used to think I was very laid back. I'll go along with the flow. oh, you want to do that? All right, let's go. Let's get it. But then I was like, yeah, no, I don't really want to. Yeah, I'm good.
Mhm.
And they're like, oh, you don't want to go? No, I'm okay. Like, have fun, right? Like, oh, you don't drink? No, I don't told you that. You know, like, so it's not a conversation. You know, my drink is once every 3 months, so people look at me like, ha, you call that drinking? But anyway, but so it's understanding that your friendships evolve when you evolve and grow, and if that doesn't mean a bad. It's not a bad thing. It's growth.
Yeah.
So some people just move on too. It's not like I'm like, oh, I don't have my friends because I done did this. No, they move on too.
Yeah.
They get into their stuff and they're like, we were gelling at this point, but now this stage, I'm moving in a different direction, and that's okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think I find it, I think I've always had different subset of friends, right? So, there are some friends I can bring together and there's some friends I can't. But I think for me, as I've gotten older, well, I will say this. I am a very giving person, but I also recognize that I'm a very selfish person in certain aspects, right? And so because I do enjoy my alone time, right? I have those moments when I don't want to like just be bothered with anybody, and so it's easy for me to just be like, I'm going off the grid, right? But what I'm finding though, as I move more into this space of entrepreneurship, right, is that I'm finding that I need to be cognizant of the different things that like I have friends that need different things from me, right? So I have some friends that I have one friend that we can have an entire conversation via text or messenger and be good with it, right? Like we could just be good, have total conversation. And then I have friends that they want to talk to you on the phone. I'm not a phone talker. Like I can do it, but for me, I could text you all day, which is crazy, right? Being a Gen Xer, they wouldn't think that. But but I do realize that I have to be flexible, right? Because I noticed that I have friends that have different needs. And so for me, I've been trying to like just be mindful of that, right? Where, you know, this particular friend, yeah, she is gonna want to talk to you on the phone. So I need to so I have friends who they'll text me, hey, let me know when you're free, right? And then we schedule either a Zoom chat, thanks to COVID, where everybody now loves these virtual chats, or let's schedule a call, right? So what I've found is as I get older, of really just being cognizant of the different subset of friends that I have and their different needs. Hey Sheila, good evening.
Good evening, everyone.
Sheila, do you want to introduce yourself?
I most certainly do. Good evening. Pardon my tardiness. My name is Sheila Isom. I am an insurance claims professional. And on the side, I am also a notary public and I am an independent consultant for Color Street and I sell nail polish strips.
Nice. Well, we're glad you made it. And we were just starting off our conversation talking about how our friendships have evolved. at this stage of life. And so, Regina, what about, because Regina is the busy woman. Every time I turn around, she doing something. She going somewhere. She got something happening.
Yes, my friendships evolved as my sisters know and your audience know. I've lived in 6 different states, so different parts of my life. So in my 20s, I was in California for 13 years. So, and I went to school there. And as my friends, that was my partying days. Like after work, we went to the happy hour or just the hookups, not hookups, but meetups
Yeah.
and things like that. As my friends started getting married, um, I found that I didn't hang out with them as much because our interest was different. As Gina was saying, they had their families and well, their husband, and then they started having kids. So from there, I got married late. So Gina, I did that whole thing. I got married at 31, and I had my first child at 30.
Why you say that's late?
Well, back then that was late.
Oh,
That
okay.
back then that was late because my friends, when I started having kids, my friends' kids were in middle school.
Oh, wow.
So you have to remember, I'm not really the Gen Xer. I'm the baby boomer.
Oh, okay.
So during my high school year, there was this whole thing of kids having young ladies having babies in high school. Now,
Mhm.
prior to that, they there was shut on. Then I just remember a lot of my classmates started having babies in high school, and then some of them got married, and a lot of them got married right out of college. I
Wow.
wasn't one of them, and that was that. So once I had my baby, I didn't have any support. So my husband and I, we were in California. I met him. He was in the service. So we didn't have any support. So we moved to Jersey. That's how I got to Jersey because that's where his family was from. So then I had no friends and my life had changed. And I sat there and it was kind of like a woe is me. And my mom had to come and snap me out. One time she came to visit me to help me with my kids and visit. And she said, "Why are you looking like Aunt Haggie's something?" I'm like, "What?" She goes, "You used to have your makeup on, you used to have your clothes on, you used to have the this." She's like, "You just look like it's like the world has not come to an end because you've had kids."
So mom called
And
you
she called me out because I didn't know I was. I don't know if I was depressed, but I had just fallen into this. I didn't have any of my friends anymore when I first moved there. I all I had was my mother-in-law, my sister-in-law, and that was really it. And I had my kids, and during that time, my husband and I, we were starting that maybe we're not going to be married type thing, probably 2 years in after we got there. And so that was a whole different shift. Then I had a different set of friends. Once my mom pulled my coattail, and I said, "What do you?" I started like, "Let me, it's something about your mother shake you up." I'm like, let me just do, let me start enjoy, like, care about myself and do things for me. And I found a different set of friends, and that evolved. And as they evolved, a lot of them was married. I went back to church. I had my little core group in my church in my ministry, and we were just really, really tight. We didn't have to see each other all the time, but we saw each other on Sundays. We did a lot of things together. I had
out.
my work set of friends, just like how you did. I had
Mhm.
sets of friends, and that's how that came. And then as I got older and moving to Charlotte, my interest changed, so my friendship changed. So I can't say it was like each state when I moved somewhere, I had a different set of friends, but I had a different set of friends because I was different in each of those settings.
So let's talk about that, Sheila. I'm gonna hit you with this one, Sheila. So,
Okay.
right, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the making new friends, like at this stage, right, of our lives, right? What it means to like make new friends, or is there such a thing as that?
Well, I think that at the heart of it, you'll always have those core friends,
Mhm.
right? My best friend, who has been my best friend since junior high school, lives in North Carolina and I'm in Jersey. She will always forever be my best friend, right? There's
Mhm.
no one that is ever going to take her place that's going to top that. We may go months at a time before we even speak,
Mm-hmm.
but that status will never ever change.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I also have some other big, best friends that are here local, like my core group from college. And I actually have two core groups from college that are my great friends. I have some of my church friends. I have, of course, my wine club. And the irony to it is that those are the most recent people that I can call my friends, and they're the ones that I talk to just about every single day. And when I say talk, I'm saying it's usually by either a text chat or a social media chat or something like that. But we are in touch with each other every single day, because all of these women, and again, I have to, include my work core groups that are, my really good friends. All of these women, what they have in common in their own different ways, are that we have the same set of values.
Mm-hmm.
We have pretty much the same outlook on life. We have the same common interests and common goals. So, first and foremost, what's important to me is how you are living your life. If you are somebody like I'm not in the streets, okay? So you know, I'm into people that have evolved.
Yeah.
So, you live, you grow, you learn. And I'm out of that element. So the people that I know pretty much don't have time for that. And that's fine, because they've evolved from that life as well.
Mm-hmm.
But at the core of it, they know who they are. They know what they want out of life. They know what's important. And those are pretty much the same things that I look for and that I am.
Mhm.
And it's interesting, right? Because one of the things, like for me, is really just even just that friend, right? Like for me, I got to really think about: are you a friend? Are you an associate? Or are you acquaintance? Or are you a professional network person? You know what I'm saying? Like really, because there was a time, I'm not gonna say now, but there was a time when I was like, I ain't making no new friends. Right. And one of my friends was like, no, Theo, you cannot say. One of my best friends was like, you can't say you're not making new friends. Like you're going to evolve. You're gonna grow, like all of you were saying, right? You move to a different place, or
Mhm.
you end up at in a different space where it's and for me, honestly, I don't try to make, like, people gravitate towards me, and I don't understand why, right? But people are naturally like, oh, and I'm like, why? Right? But I did have to get to the point of where I'm like, okay, how are you managing? Because it can become overwhelming,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
right? Um, and so it's like, how do you manage the different friendships and situationships? Like, is this someone that is an associate, and we may talk when we see each other, but it's not like you saying, like, my core, like my ride and dies, where we could go, like you said, Sheila, we could go months without talking and then get on the phone and be on the phone for hours, right? So it's really interesting to just think about, like, how those friendships evolve as you evolve,
Yeah.
and also the trust factor, right, of letting
Mm-hmm.
people in,
Right.
right?
And when we talk about like relationships and marriages and divorces,
Mhm.
me too. Like Regina, I got married my first time at 31.
Mhm.
Although my ex-husband and I had been in a relationship for several years before that, I got married at 31, had my first and only child at 34.
Mhm.
Um, and by that time, not too long after he was born, my ex-husband and I split up. So we had friends in common that
Mhm.
I'm not going to say are no longer friends of mine. However, the level of the friendship has changed.
Mhm.
You know, um, it's funny too because I can recall that when my parents got divorced after 28 years of marriage, um, my mother had said to me, she mentioned a couple of relatives who, were kind of like ride or die for her for the longest time. But then once they split up, she didn't hear from them anymore.
Mm.
So sometimes those severed relationships cause severed friendships that you actually had absolutely nothing to do with, because for whatever reason it was, it could be, are they family and friends of the ex-husband and they don't want to choose side? Did they not like you from the very beginning, or didn't feel that you fit or felt an obligation to be your friend? I don't know. That's not my problem. That's theirs.
Yeah.
But I did learn, it was just funny because those people that I may have been having conversations with on a regular basis beforehand, I was no longer speaking to, or we just became cordial. So again, talking about the living and the learning and the growing, the term friendship gets defined and redefined throughout your lifetime.
Yeah, the crazy thing for me is like my ex-husband, right, was best friends with my cousin's husband, right? So although we weren't together anymore, he was at every family function because he was still friends with my cousins, right? And so it's like, okay, thank God it wasn't like a horrible like breakup, right? Because I did not have to learn how to navigate that, right? Because it was like my cousins, it's not like they chose anybody. They were like, okay, y'all did whatever y'all did, but this is still my boy, right? This is still my friend. He's still gonna be playing baseball with us. He's still gonna be doing whatever. He's still gonna be at the family functions, right? So it is interesting, right, how you navigate that. But I have a question for you guys that it's funny. I saw this on Facebook today, and it's funny because we're having this conversation. But this guy posted divorced women who still carry their husband's last name. Why? I was like, oh man, like we're having this discussion, but that was the question. He was like, divorced women who still carry their ex-husband's last name. Why?
Listen,
Well,
just like my wigs, I bought it. It's mine. That is who when I decided, because I preferred the traditional, things about marriage. I wanted to have us to have the same last name. Um, Number one, I have a son. I didn't want my son to feel any kind of way about the name if I decided to change it.
Mm.
Number two, it's a hassle. Just like it was a hassle changing your name to your husband's last name, it's a hassle getting your name back. I didn't want to go through that hassle because number three, I also knew that I wanted to remarry one day and that I would take on a different last name. And that's what's happened.
And
Which
so
was a hassle again to change.
when you took on the last name of your new husband, did you keep the other last name or did you let it go?
Nope. I was not a hyphenated person.
Okay.
I took on his last name in the first marriage, and in the second marriage, I took on his last name.
Okay. Yeah, because I know some women who like they kept the ex's last name and then added the new husband name.
Yeah,
So
no.
yeah. Yeah, I did it for the same reason. Well, first I was married, I mean 25, 26 years, but we were separated so long. And I didn't get a divorce until 2018.
Mm-hmm.
But we were separated since my kids were in, well, my oldest son, I remember that, fifth grade. He's now 31. So I think he was like 26 or 27. I don't know, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just not, I didn't think of it. It kind of thought of it afterwards. I kept saying I wanted my name back, but like Sheila said, it's a hassle. And I didn't know at the time to put it in my divorce decree because so much stuff had happened when that divorce came. I had lost my father, and it was just too much. The father, in the way the divorce went down, it wasn't a bad. And the funny part about it is that me and my ex husband, we are best friends, and we were best friends until he passed. He still was my ride or die person, which is weird. They called us Bunny and Clyde, but I then I had my kids with their name, and same thing. If I marry again, I'm gonna take on the name, so I'll just drop it then. And it's a hassle. It's a hassle, even if you do put it in, and it costs a lot of money. But if you put it in your divorce decree, it's free, but it is a hassle.
Oh my God, I got rid of my. I changed back so quick. I was like, all right, let me get another social security. Like, go Carter.
Mhm.
I don't know. I love my name, but
I'm loving my name
I
too.
didn't hyphenate either. But as soon as once it was over, I was
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm taking my name right back.
I never hyphenated. I hyphenate on Facebook because when Facebook first came out, I put my married name because I was still married. And one of my high school friends reached out to me. She said, "You got to put your maiden name because no one knows who you are." That is why.
So that's why you have it the way. Okay.
That is why because it's not a hyphenated name.
I think we lost. I think we lost.
Yeah,
We lost Gina.
I'm right here.
We just black box.
Oh,
really black.
Yeah. And static. We had static. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So let's talk about that, right? So hopefully Gina will come back, right? So, but Sheila, you're still married, right? This is your second marriage.
Mm-hmm.
How do you keep it? Well, I see because you guys are always out and about. But how do you keep it like new and spicy and fresh?
I'm going to tell you, first and foremost, we recognize each other's likes and dislikes and what makes each other comfortable. My husband is not touchy-feely. He's not like we have to be up under each other. He likes his space. And because I had been separated and then divorced, because again, similar story. My ex-husband and I, we were separated for 11, 12 years before we actually got divorced. So, and even prior to, getting married and even being in a relationship with him, I had no problems with being by myself. I like my space. So that's one thing that my current husband and I realize about each other is like, we know when to separate and we know when to come together. But more importantly, we realize that dating is still very, very important. So whether it's once a month, twice a month, we make sure that we continue to date one another. Also knowing too that if there's something, because it's usually me, I'm the planner, I'm the social butterfly of the relationship. So I'm always almost the one that says, "Hey, let's do this, let's do that." And I also recognize, because in the beginning, my feelings used to be hurt when he would say he didn't want to go. But then again, I realized that there were also times when I may not have wanted him to go somewhere and he volunteered to go. So there's that balance. I don't force him unless it's of something that's really, really important to me. I don't force him to come to stuff. And same thing with him. He doesn't force me either. So for us, the big thing is to keeping our relationship alive is number one, knowing each other's boundaries, knowing that we give each other space because we need it. And number two is to make sure that we are constantly dating each other.
Oh, okay. Gina, we're talking about marriage. So, it's on YouTube. Like, how do you keep the fire lit and burning?
well, okay. So right now I'm just starting to restoke the flames.
The whole fire is burning, ladies.
Part of it is talking to each other because as we get older, we talk about our friendships and things change, but we change as individuals.
Mm-hmm.
So the way we came into the marriage, we had one set of ideas, right? But then we're grown, we're experiencing different things, and so he may be who he is, but he's changed as well. So we need to the conversations. We have to communication. I think is the key. Being in communication with each other so you can pay attention to the changes, so you can work and adapt with each other. It's not um like I don't have a companion. That's my husband. Yes, we're is we could be in the same space and be quiet with each other, but I also like it when we could talk with each other because I'm listening for the things that's changing about him. He's listening for the things that are becoming different about me. And sometimes you need to be able to have those talks. But I also like what I heard Sheila said, that we have to do things together. Like, as parents, it was so focused about the children. We had, you know,
Mm-hmm.
four children, and it was all about everything revolved around being the best versions that we could be, however that was, right? So that meant everything we did for the most part was always with the children.
Mm-hmm.
Now everybody grown and gone. So we have to reconnect with each other. So first I had to get over the fact that the kid's not home and no one's I'm like, you're not coming back home. Say what? So now it's like, okay, now I have to get reconnected with my husband.
Mm-hmm.
I have to start asking questions and he's asking me questions and because you don't want I think it's important not to get comfortable with a dry routine.
So I was gonna ask you that. I was gonna say, like, did you ever feel like, because you got so stuck in a routine, that when you got to the empty nest phase, it was like, I'm staring at this person and I don't really know who they are.
Well, I think we knew, but it was like a lot of our conversations were around our children because four unique individuals with unique stuff going on. But now the important part is to continue to find out what's unique about each other, and
Mm-hmm.
also while we're still together, because the children are grown and gone. They come for visits and stuff like that. But we have to reconnect differently because now we don't have. I think it's the level of stress. When you have children, it's the level of stress and concern that you have, and then when you're doing it together, like we vibe on certain things and not vibe on others. But now they're not here, so we have to vibe with each other. So I think it's important the connection and the communication, and I think that's also can be a lot of fun because it's like, oh, you were thinking about that. I was thinking about that. I didn't know you were thinking about. Well, we didn't talk about it. So it's also finding out the things. Viewpoints change. And it's like, wow, I didn't know you felt that way. So I just think it's important when you're married to have an open mind, to be willing to listen without, don't be ready to jump like you want to because it's a different opinion now you want to fight it. Just listen. Be open minded, because you want that given in return. And one of the best friendships you can have is with your spouse if you work at it. I don't want the laughing and the kikiing to be with my girlfriends and stuff like that. But then when I'm with my husband, it's like we don't really connect and laugh like that. I want to be able to do that at home first, because this is where it's the safe space. It's where you come home after everything else. You come home to be with who you're with, and you want to be able to enjoy them, be at peace with them, and be able to communicate. And I think that's why I believe marriage is a full-time job, because you just don't settle where you are. If you're going to grow and change in a relationship, you got to continually be in communication and pay attention to the nuances. If you see something, say something. It's not just about outside. Just again, I think communication is important, and having lunch dates and going out and saying, "Hey, let's do something." Sometimes take the initiative. Hey, let's go out. Let's go. Let's check a movie or something like that. Just to have that together time. It's really important. It makes a difference.
So, ladies out there that might be struggling with how to keep your flame going or whatever, you just got some tips on how to keep the marriage flowing in the right direction. So now let's talk about, well, because three of us have been divorced and one remarried. You've never, Gina, you've been married, right? And stay married. So for those of us, especially for you, Sheila, like, and then I'm gonna ask, I'm gonna
I
get on,
believe until death do us part.
I'm gonna get on you, Regina. But Sheila, how did you find like getting back into the dating scene after you divorced?
A big headache. You know what? It's like it can really depend on what you're looking for. Because if you are looking for um, sex, that is the easiest thing that you could find, right?
Mm,
So whether you're looking
friends with
for,
benefits.
right, just that physical satisfaction or thinking that that's going to be the precursor to a relationship, that's the easiest thing to find. One of the things that I found out when I was separated from my first husband was that it was easier for me to tell you what I did not want in a relationship than to tell you what I did want in a relationship
Mhm.
or from a companion,
Yeah.
right? I knew that I wanted somebody that was going to be God fearing. I
Mhm.
knew that I wanted somebody that was going to put family first, right? Um, I didn't want somebody who was still living a life like they were in their 20s,
Mm,
right? I didn't want a person who felt that they could only commit once they got to a certain age or a certain stature, right? Status, financial or career wise, whatever. Um, I wanted somebody who was going to say, this is the person that has the qualities that I'm looking for, and I'm ready to move towards commitment.
mm,
Um, so it wasn't something that I took lightly, especially since I had a child. And I'm definitely one of those people where you're not coming around my child until we
mm,
get to that point where we know that this is going to move forward into something serious. If you did not, if marriage wasn't on the horizon for you, then we could not be a partner. We could not
mm,
be partners. If you told me you didn't want children, but you were fine with me having my child, I didn't want you because there's no way in the world I was ever going to allow you to resent my child in
mm,
any type of way, right? So you had to have children already, or at least one, because I wasn't producing any more babies.
mm,
So if you didn't have a child, again, you weren't going to resent me because you wanted a child and you weren't going to have one, or because you claimed that you didn't want a child and you felt that my child was taking time away from our relationship.
mm,
Um, so it was just, and I didn't have, I think it was funny because years ago, Chili from TLC had a reality show where she was trying to find a boyfriend. And
mm,
she had this long list of what she wanted in a man. And every single box had to be checked off for her. There was no flexibility whatsoever. And I
mm,
realized that you can't be that way because I'm not perfect, right?
mm,
I've got my own flaws, I've got my own idiosyncrasies. And if I expect somebody to put up with that, then I've got to be somewhat flexible in who I was looking for. But dating is not easy. And I will tell you, I am so glad that I am married. And I'm so glad that I'm married to a man who is telling me that this is going to be for life. So
mm.
don't even think about going anywhere because guess what? I'm not going anywhere.
So
So
when you were dating, did they have was the online dating as prevalent as it is now?
uh, probably not to the extent that it is like a priority now.
Mm,
it was really difficult distinguishing between someone who wanted a relationship versus somebody who just wanted to hook up.
Mm.
And even finding the men that wanted a relationship, oftentimes they were the ones that were ready to commit after maybe just 2 dates, if that,
Mm.
you know. So, and it's like, slow, hold your brakes, buddy. I don't know if I like you enough for that yet. We don't know each other. So if
Yeah.
you're looking to get married right away, that's not, it can't be to me, because I need to take some time to know you, and you need to take time to know me.
Mhm.
So Regina, what say you about dating at this stage of your life?
I don't know. I She's laughing because I think I have a potential somebody that I'm not.
Uh-huh.
That all the signs are there, but I'm just standing there like, oh, okay. This is transparency. This is just whole youth. I mean, not youth. This is we're grown women, so it's no, you know.
Yeah.
So I had didn't really think I have anyone. So I invited Theo to a place, a gala with an organization I'm in.
Mhm.
And I invited my friend. And so I told her, I said, well, I'm inviting my friend, you know, so both of you guys will be there. She's like, okay, cool. So we got there. My friend was very attentive to me. And she's like, what's going on? I'm like, nothing. He's my friend. So it takes Theo to tell the story. So then he asked me to dance, and I was sitting there. She's like, he asked you to dance. What are you doing?
Because I'm like, wait a minute, this dude, nice looking, respectful, attentive. I'm like, what's going on? Cause you can feel a little something there between the two of them, but it's like, are they trying to figure it out? I'm trying to figure it out. So,
But
Mhm.
again, after that evening, because I introduced him to several of my sisters in the organization, and like Theo and Gina, we always have bad
I wasn't
talk.
the only one that
Yeah,
asked questions.
everyone says it's me. They said you're standing there because you don't
So,
know what to do with you
so
because
talk about, like, so what is it? Like, what's the
um because I feel like, why don't you approach me? But they're saying that you're giving him so many different signals. I'm like, well, what
Mm.
signal? But you know what? That has always been my story with men.
mm,
So many, even in high school, a couple of my friends that now that I know in Jersey, not Jersey, where am I now? North Carolina.
mm,
Um, like my mom's best friends, she's here. Well, she passed. So the family's here. So she had whichever one, dementia, one of those diseases.
mm,
So they always have the walk. No, whatever it is, it's always in October. So anyway, my they were like my brothers. So one last year he actually came up and he said, "Hey, you know something." He said, "You know, back in high school, everyone was falling over Regina Robinson, Regina Robinson, Regina." I said, "Who? When? I don't know that." He said, "So many guys. You just." And your famous line was, "They're just my friends." I said, "Who said that?" I said, "I didn't see." I said, "But where are these guys at all this?" But when they're like, where, I don't know where I do the disconnect. I seriously
mm.
don't know because but I have that all the time. And funny enough, you and Gina both said that. And Gina wasn't even there, but just by what I was describing, I she's like, "Don't let me get." She actually she said, "I'm hanging up now because I just can't take it anymore."
But I actually gave you a little bit of homework, but I don't know if you did it, right?
Of
So
course I did. I
Oh, what was the homework assignment?
the homework assignment was for her to be like, let's do something. Like, cause I also feel like at this age, right? We want to be pursued, yes. But
And
I
I
feel like
think
at
that's
this
no way
age,
forward.
it ain't like we got a lot of time to waste, right? So you gotta also sometimes, be the not the pursuer, but actually say, hey, let's go for some coffee or let's hang out. Because they're already friends. Like they're friends. They do stuff together. Right.
Yeah,
So
because
I
he
was like,
actually at the event he told me, because I have girls that I mentor. So he said, hey, I'll take your girls, because he was he a boat club, something, boating club. And I said, really? So he said, yeah. And I was like, I don't know, girls water, I'm not sure. So I was telling my president that he wanted to do that. And she said, he truly likes you. I said, why do you say that? He offered to take the girls. He's gonna pay for everything. He's not gonna do that for no anybody. I said, oh, you think so?
Right.
And sometimes I'll be dumb to it. I said, well, I think he just wanted to mentor the girls. I didn't.
and
But
so,
um,
I mean, I'm not gonna say nothing because I ain't
and yeah, you can't say anything because I challenged this one. See, her homework assignment was to go online. She
just
did
like
for a few minutes. We were on the phone and she did for a few, but she kept passing the good ones. But I said, well, how much you try? No. The profile sounded good. I said, well, you never know.
Online dating, first of all, the dating pool is like
It is. It's bad, but you gotta try.
but also it's like another job. Like I want to
Is.
just meet someone, like I know like people are like, oh, that traditional stuff is rare, right? Like most people, like I know people who have met people online, dated, got married, everything, right? But I'm like, it's
Well,
a
I did meet him online. So I did meet him online.
And I met my husband online.
You met your husband online too?
Yep.
No. Gina, you met your husband online?
No, I knew him since I was working security while I was in college, and he used to work as a tech at the job.
Oh.
That
She did the
that's
traditional way. Well, my husband, of course,
Was
it was
traditional, yeah, like that,
yeah.
like my husband, like it was like back in the day, you met somebody outside and I do a
right.
family member,
I
a
met my
friend.
husband walking down the street. Well, actually, he was trying to get my attention, blowing the horn. I said, "Who he think he is blowing this horn at me?" And then he drove up on me. That I got scared. I said, "Oh my God, he about to kill me." But he actually was looking for a friend. His friend told him he was on the street that we lived. This was in California, and his friend told him, "Hey, my girlfriend, I'll be on my girlfriend's house, and she has roommates." And he told him the street, so he saw me walking, and he was actually looking for his friend. So he said that must be one of who he. That's what he was calling me for. So but he was like, and he pulled up on me. I was so scared. I was like, "Oh my God."
But do you find like at this point in life, like just even how you think about dating is differently? It's like different.
Mhm. It is, because for me, and I think one of my challenges is I've been by myself so long, and I was told that I have guards up, and I do feel that I do have guards up because I'm just not for the nonsense. And
Mhm.
that dating prior to this friend, just well, if they want to go to bed with you or they're sending you stupid pictures, or I cannot stand this. What you doing? Pay my bills. What you mean what I'm doing? What is it? It's like, I can't stand that. Or hello, gorgeous. Hi, queen. Oh, come on.
It's crazy. I literally met. I don't think I told you I met this. I was in the supermarket and met this person, and I was like, me. I'm trying to just do shop, and I had on like one of my t-shirts. My t-shirt actually said, "Do not disturb my joy, my peace, my vibe." Right? Like, but this person decided to walk up to me and read the t-shirt and say, "Oh, you seem like someone you shouldn't talk to." And in my mind, I'm like, "Well, why are you talking to me?" but I engaged. Wasn't anybody? It wasn't no sparks or whatever. But I'm like, you know what? I'm never rude. And then I'm like, okay, this is like a networking opportunity, maybe, because then we started talking about like business and stuff like that. And so, of course, I should have known it was the okey doke, right? Oh, can we get your number? I would like to invite you to speak at such and such. Got the what do you call it, the like you said, the text message, right? I didn't respond because I'm like, whatever, right? Then I'm like, he sent me a picture. Why are you sending me a picture of you? I don't know you, right? Like this is like, I'm thinking you, because now you said one thing and now you mean another. Because if you had said you was interested in me, I would not. I am one for, I'm not going to give you my number if I know I'm not really interested. Like, I'm not going to even play that game at this stage in my life, right? But yeah, I just find like it's like I don't meet, like, people are like, my friends are like, oh, have you met anyone? And I'm like, no, like I'm outside, but I don't meet anybody.
But men they don't approach you too much. I find, I don't know what setting
They
would
don't.
be. They're just as scared as you. If you have a genuine conversation, not scared, they women have crap with them as well. Some women, even on the dating sites, there are. Well, me and my friend actually talked about it. We talked about it. That they say the same thing. Women, what men throw at us, women throw at them.
And one of my girlfriends said that. She said, men don't approach us. She said, because they can tell that we sitting over here or they walk across the room. They know we're talking about them. And I was like, really? She was like, yeah. We said, oh, he's not tall enough, or he's not this, or he's not that, right? And I was like, okay. Maybe.
Or some do the same thing. That's what we were talking about. Send crazy pictures. Send like if you're in. So you have to kind of know. Like there are committed men, like we're saying. And then there's the ones that just the same. They're looking for a woman, and then they get the same thing that we get. They get the women with the, I just want to, have fun, and that's it. And so they get the same type of thing. And I was thinking of what kind of site could we come up with just to get the real committed people, men or women, that don't want to play the games, but it's still gonna be crazy.
Well, there are some sites out there, because Sheila met her husband online. I know like 2 other people that met their husband. So there are some sites out there.
But the sites are still the sites they're on. I mean, there's still, you get the crazy. You as you say, you got to kiss a lot of frogs before you get Prince.
And right. And I will tell you this: I was not going to pay for it.
That right there. That's the other thing, like right.
And since I met my friend, like 2 of them, and I used to talk about, and that's why I told Theo. She said, I never even knew about him. I said, yeah, now so talk about the country.
She don't even tell me about the ones that she don't like.
And I knew him longer, I think. Well, I don't know if I met him at the same time, but I both met him online. But he was just real aggressive. But I didn't even tell you guys about the other. But we are such, like, he had things in his life that happened to him, my friend. And I've had things, and we've always been there for each other. We check on each other. So I don't know what it is. I think we both like each other. I don't know. He's a nice guy, though.
So what? Yeah. So I mean, what would it take for? And I'm saying this for, because I'm sure there's somebody out here that's listening. I will listen to this later, and we got so caught up in this conversation. So I apologize. This is the Woman to Woman show.
Oh yeah.
Nation Network. And we're talking about just relationships, right? As you reach this midlife or whatever stage of life they call it, but we're all 50, right? And so we're just talking about now dating, and so just really, like, how do you navigate at this age, like, in your? Because I feel like I'm 58, right? So I feel like, okay, even when I meet somebody, it's not gonna be like back in the days where you're like, oh, I got 2, 3, 4, 5 years, right? To date somebody, like you have to figure out, like Sheila said, at this point, I probably know more so what I don't want, right? As opposed to, I mean, of course I know what I want, but I think I know what I don't want, and won't tolerate, right? But also, I heard this on a podcast. This guy say once, right, that he made a list, right, of, I guess, things like you said. Who said that somebody had that long list? You should have said that list.
Sheila.
Um, which I had one of those lists, but I won't do that again. But anyway, he said he made this long list, but then he said when he looked at that list, he then thought about, am I the person? Do I feel the traits on this list? So he said he began to think about, right, not more so what I want, but would I date me? Right. And so I was like, that's an interesting concept, because it made me think about, would I date me? Because I think I'm a great person. I think I'm a good person, but I also know that I've been by myself for a minute now. So that I'm gonna have to adjust, right, to having someone, because I just pick up and go now. When you're in a committed relationship, right, there's a level of respect,
Right.
right, that you give to your partner. And so it's also at this stage in life, how do you adjust to that, right? And because there are some adjustments that you need to make. Like I have a couple of my girlfriends that say the same thing. They're like, I've been by myself so long, like I don't even know how I would fit this person in. They've said, some of my friends, and it's true, because you're like, how do I adjust now to moving differently?
Right. It is. It's definitely an adjustment. But as with most things, if you're willing to make the changes, you will do it.
Yeah.
It's like working out.
Exactly. Like,
We say we're gonna do this, but do we work out? You got to
I
make
do. I work out. So,
well,
but yes, but it's true. Like it is. I mean, I think you have to really decide if you want to put in the work, right? Because like I think Gina said it right when it came to marriage. I think it's the same thing with dating or any type of relationship, friendship or whatever. There has to be a level of work that you put into it, right? In order to make it work. But I can't believe it's like 9:05 already.
Yep.
Where did the time go? So I guess it's time for final thoughts, right, on this topic of navigating relationships, friendships, marriages, dating, singleness, right? So what are your final thoughts on just what does success, okay, I'll end it like this. What does success in relationships look like for you in at this stage in your life?
It shouldn't be hard. At this stage of my life, I know who I am and what I'm about, and I gravitate to like-minded folk. And prayerfully, my discernment is way better than it was when I was younger. And I think it's important. I love what Sheila said earlier. If you marry, date your husband.
Mm,
You know, connect and be in communication, and don't become the furniture.
mm.
Don't become the furniture.
What is that? Elaborate. I know we only got a
So
few time,
real
but
quick, just don't get so comfortable just being there that you don't work at continuing to have that vibrancy in your relationship. Don't take it for granted. We go to our job and we do what we're there to do. Our family, our husband, our relationship is important, and you should be willing to nurture it and keep it healthy.
mm,
So that takes work, and it takes commitment, and it takes not taking each other for granted.
all right. So one thought is do not take relationships for granted.
Absolutely.
All right. Sheila.
Know that relationships, whether they are romantic relationships or they are just friendly relationships, they all take work. You have to be willing to put in the work to preserve that relationship and know that the work has to be coming from both parties. If it's
Mm,
one-sided, then that means it's time to walk away. But just as with most things, if you're willing to put in the work on your job, on your social life, be willing, able, and ready to put in the work to maintain that relationship.
Regina.
Um, Same thing that my other sister said. Be open. Don't do what I do. Be open to communication. And ask questions. Don't be afraid. Probably that's my fear. Let fear go. I would say that because I think a lot of it is I don't want to be rejected, you know?
Mm,
So the worst case scenario is no, if that's the case, but you'll live. It's not the end of the world.
mm-hmm.
And life is too
And
short. So.
yeah. And
And one
and
Sound like
and I
a good prescription.
touch
yeah.
on one thing that we didn't talk about, which was brought to my attention today by my son. He's called me. He says, "Mom, can I just ask you a question?" He goes, and I won't make it long because I know we're over. He said, "I don't even know how to bring this up to you." So I'm thinking, "Oh my God, what are you going to ask me?" You know. And he says, "How can you be in your grandson's life more?" I'm like, "What?" Now this is the youngest son because he says, "You're not around him." I said, "Well, you should bring him to me." You know, my other two, this is my second son, but
Yeah,
that
understand.
our difference. And he says, because he calls you grandma too. I said, what does that mean? He goes, because he says, and I can't defend that because you're not around him. So that's
Because
a relationship.
you see your other grandson more than this one.
And that's kind of, I was like, But it kind of pulled my attention to, I said, well, then we both have to work because it can't be on me. You have to bring him to me, or, it has to work
Mm,
out. So he says, and I don't want you to be grandma too. So that's another relationship too. But that's how you go on with your life and you don't. But my other son, he just brought, it's just like, this is it. But I was kind of the same way, but he needed help and he came and asked. This one is more like me. If I'm going to do it, anything, if I need your help. And then he will ask, for the times that he do ask, I can't accommodate because I have something going on.
mm-hmm.
So that's just another, that's the
Just
way the
another
kids
dynamic.
are wrong.
It's another
Right,
dynamic.
right.
Kids are wrong. How do you? That's the one that we did, and I was like, wow, that's a relationship.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's dynamic. But I think, like I was gonna say, like as my final thought is right for me is really, and I think this is just as I've been, started in my healing journey in 2020 is really being cognizant of who I am, me, like looking at the woman in the mirror, right, and
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
and really recognizing that I need to know like what I want, who I want, but also who am I,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it all comes that plays a huge part in the relationships and because you teach people how to treat you,
Right,
right?
right,
And you attract people based on your energy, right? Based on what you put out, right? So I think for me, one of the things too is really just being cognizant of who I am, right? My, like Sheila said, my values, what I will tolerate, not tolerate, right? But also to the point you made, Regina, because of some of the history, right? Is recognizing that you have to be open
Mm-hmm.
right? To letting somebody in order for you, because that's another thing. I might not be meeting people because they might be feeling an energy from me that I don't even realize I'm giving off,
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
right? And so just being mindful of your energy, and even though you may not realize it, what you are subconsciously saying with just your actions or how you're moving, right? So, but we are over. And so we're going to say good night. We thank you for joining us tonight on the Woman to Woman show on the New You Nation Network. This is a network that is dedicated and committed to the Gen X community, but we welcome all. But this community really was created to connect with Gen Xers like ourselves, right? And we just really come on to share our life experiences, how we're growing, how we're evolving, and how we are navigating this thing called life at this stage of the game. And so we're happy that you joined us. We hope you join us again next Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And with that, we are going to sign off as we normally do and say truth
Truth
Truth.
plus transparency
Transparency
equals
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 healing.
healing.
here. Have a great night, everyone. Thank you for joining.
good
Good
night.
night.
Good night.